Greetings, everyone. Welcome. I'm Dave Kassler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, and welcome to our Saturday live stream today. I've got lots of questions here that have come in, and we'll try and answer the questions that are in the chat stream too. First, I want to say thank you to Paul B. For noticing the Super Chat. Super Chat is open. The money that's generated from this goes into channel funds, which I can use for things like that little doodad that's going to go into the Icom 7300 so that I can get a SDR feed out of that. Also, there are a number of questions in there about what headset I'm going to pick to go with the radio. It'll probably be the Heil Pro 7, but we'll see how that does it. There's some other interesting questions here. John McCabe was looking at 40 meter end-fed antenna. The feed end has a long wire attached and another short wire, about 6 inches. What do I do with that? That would depend on the instructions. You didn't say what the manufacturer is. We could look that up on the internet. And Les Merriman says that the tutorial videos have helped 4 friends going for their ticket, and he's studying for his extra. Very good. The questions are going to be changing July 1st on that, and I'm going to be getting the book as soon as I can get it and try to start updating those videos. Okay. Let's see. Raining in the Pacific Northwest. That's actually good because, as I understood it, you guys were facing a little bit of a drought. Okay, California first-timer KK6TRC, Jeff. Congratulations there. And meteorologists have predicted 100% chance of rain today, not a drop. Yeah. All right, and this is from Paul B. Hi, Dave. Thanks to your videos and Ask Dave segments, was able to successfully join the FT8 crowd this past week, despite a severely compromised antenna. That is one of the nice things about FT8 and the various JT modes, is how well they work with compromised antennas. Let's see, is radio wave brand connector. There's got to be a balun in there somewhere. Hello from Missouri, and both Republic and Far West. Welcome to Hobby. Since you're in Colorado, HamCon Colorado. I hope it's going to be held. It's going to be in Parker. I'm going to try to get there, but I don't know if I'll be able to. We need some place to put the RV. Randy, thank you. Thank you very much. Greetings from Central Massachusetts. First time, long time. 49 to 1 or 9 to 1. Those are counterpoises. I think what that may be is something you connect a counterpoise to. To learn more about me, visit URL seems to be dead. Yes, you have to go to dkassler.com/home. The about link is that page isn't there right now. You were going to replace the overhead lighting in your shack. What would you put in to minimize noise? Are LED strips a good choice? I have an LED strip here from Home Depot that puts light on my workbench, does a really nice job, and I have not noticed any noise from it. Seems to work well. Vincent, thank you. Thank you very much. The antenna was purchased from Gigaparts. It's InFed 40. Coax's branded RadioWave. That is where the wire antenna and the shorter wire is connected. Well, check the instructions. Maybe someone else on today has got an idea for you. I haven't seen that antenna. Bill, I've got errands to run after this. Best way to do the grounding system on a boat? Oh, just touch the salt water. Salt water is an outstanding conductor of electricity and makes for a fabulous ground plane. Of course, it corrodes like crazy, but you can do things with sacrificial anodes and whatever they do on boats that keeps things from corroding. But you can put a piece of metal down into the wire and you're doing pretty good for a ground on there. I mean, not just touching by an inch or two, but 2 or 3 feet. Let's see, what would be best way to do grounding system on a boat? Okay, we took a look. Okay, let's take a look at, first of all, I have important business. That screen overhead. Bill Malman, Alpha Bravo 4 Papa, and Martin Larsen, OZ4AFN. Their questions were garbled. Bill Malman tried several times, and it was garbled every time. I do not know what is going on with that. What I could suggest is that you try hamradioanswers@gmail.com, okay, and see if that will work a little bit better. Stainless steel, yes, that certainly would do it. He's in Djibouti, East Africa, tech licensed by remote examination, going to get into CW, good for you. Deciding what type of desk to replace this plastic table with. It's hard to select a desk from pictures and know it will fit my shack. You know what some people have done is they've taken little 2-drawer filing cabinets, put them apart, and laid a door over the top of it, a flat door. That's a much time-honored method of getting a desk. Plus you've got built-in desk drawers right there. That's very inexpensive. I'd take measurements and go on, put your mask on and go on down to Home or to Office Depot if your local regulations permit. It's very different. Parts of the country are opening up. We never really closed here. I've actually gone back to flying. I went flying again yesterday. Nice audio on the overhead. Yeah, it does work a little bit better. I've got this one, this microphone over here. It's not quite turned up all the way. Let me turn it up just a little bit more and see if that helps. Okay, get a corner unit that has space on both sides with the radio in the middle. Greetings from Lithuania. Would like to ask how steel sheets roof affects HF and VHF antennas. Well, one of the problems is if they're not bonded together well for RF, they can create issues. But otherwise, you can certainly put antennas on top of them. All right, and you're welcome for the lessons. LED strips in themselves are not noisy, but they need a good, clean DC power supply. Wall warts are noisy. Mine plug directly into the 110 volt outlets, and they're designed for workshop lighting. They're about 4,000 Kelvin, which is not soft white and it's not daylight. I wish they were daylight, but the common LED strips are around 4,000 Kelvin, which is a little bit too white for night and not white enough for the day. Can you do a hardware store copper pipe held to the hull with a stainless steel bracket? Yes, you can. You're going to get corrosion on the copper, but just if it's a pipe, it's not that expensive. You can replace it anyway. Okay. According to Gigaparts, that short stub is a counterpoise stub. Okay. Okay, Tom, thank you for looking at that. The steel roof will radiate if it's properly connected, but again, you've got to have everything connected out together. Okay, and John is K7IKC. This is from J72IMS, Ishmael Samuel. Says he made a UHF dipole yesterday and he could hit the UHF repeater. Turns out it was their repeater that had the problem. And then he asked, is the MF J 9410 10-meter single sideband transceiver, is that an HF radio for 10 meters? Let's go to the screen and look up MFJ Enterprises, and we have to click on the search bar here. It doesn't have one already open, and it's an MFJ. Oh no. Oh, an MFJ 9410. Okay, MFJ 9410. And that's this one right here, which is an SSB transceiver. It's QRP, very, very much QRP. 20 watts. 20 watts isn't bad. You might actually be able to get something for that. How much was it? $319.95. Yeah, that would be a 10-meter transceiver. Of course, technicians have some single sideband privileges on 10 meters. The problem, of course, is that 10 meters is not very much of an open band these days. You can put up the radio and not hear anything for long periods of time. And so even if you put up a dipole, during the middle of the day, sometimes it opens up, but not every day. So I would not really recommend that antenna. What do you suggest a newbie does regarding all the digital modes available out there? Well, the one that's really active is FT8. Okay. Still see your whiteboard? You shouldn't. I've been off the whiteboard for a while. Let's see. Hardware store copper pipe. Yep. 8th floor condo into an alpha. Don't have a suitable ground. If it works, go with it, because you pick up a ground through your power supply will at least provide electrical safety ground. And if it works, go for it. If you get RFI in the shack, try rearranging the cables. If that doesn't work, MFJ makes what is actually technically a counterpoise, but they call it an artificial ground that can help. It has to be tuned for every frequency. Finding digital modes overwhelming. You'll get used to them. So close to the cost of the G90, yes. Old incandescent lights would create the lowest QRM, yes, but by comparison, they're expensive and they create a lot of heat. Just watched the YouTube video on the MFJ 1984 MP. Have you been satisfied with that antenna? MFJ 1984, MFJ 1984 MP, MFJ 194 MP. End-fed halfway 40 through 10, 300 watt wire antenna. I assume it works. They do. You probably are going to have to add a counterpoise to it. And of course you got to run the coax up to the balun. It's probably a 49-to-1 balun, I'm guessing. So, whoops, I didn't show the screen on that one. This is the antenna right here that was being referred to. Okay. See what it says about the balun. It's just got all kinds of different frequency ranges. They've got a key on a wood base now. Oh, that's not a good key. Ew. I don't like that key. Okay. This is from Mike Carrington, KG0P. My 80-meter dipole with bare wire runs through some tree branches at one end. Let's get back to the normal view here. Okay. My 80-meter wire dipole, bare wire, runs through some tree branches at one end. Would I get better results if I used insulated wire? Probably. because the non-insulated wire, when it contacts the tree branches, could cause a problem. So yeah, I would try insulating at least that portion that goes through the tree. Okay. Oh, that is Ask Dave 89. Oh, I did not like that antenna. Let's see. Okay. This is one that came as a comment to WordPress. I've set up my FTDX 3000 as suggested, trying FT8, and have no problem getting the test test computer aided transceiver. It's a button on WSJTX. Good signal output. My problem is when I go to transmit, my SOPO power meter pegs to 0. Pegs usually means hits max, but doesn't change from 0. If you go to my website and at dcasler.com, DCASLER, well, I'll show you. Let's go to the screen, and we'll go to dcasler.com and put into the search box FTDX 3000 with no hyphen. And you get a couple blog entries here. Setting up WSJTX for the Yeasu FTDX, and then FTDX menu settings. You will note that there are some menu settings that you have to change in order to get audio to go out over the transmitter. So please check that out there. Okay. And I'm going to get back to the live stream page. This is from Danny Harber, KI5EXY. Reference station Icom 7300. Can you tell me how a new tech could use the Icom on air while getting ready to upgrade to general? Well, of course, you've got CW privileges on 40, 80, 40, 15, and 10. And then you have some limited single sideband privileges on 10, but as I mentioned, you can't get much going. You also have 6 meters. You can do anything on 6 meters that you want. 6 meters is occasionally open. I would recommend holding off on the 7300 until you get your general license. I haven't yet picked out reference items for VHF, UHF. I will. I haven't done that yet. Okay. This is from J72IMS, Ishmael Samuel. Hello, Dave. I'm personally asking that you see if you can send me an HF rig so I can work my HF skills and my HF bands privileges. If you have old ones, don't know if I'm begging. You are begging, but this is a problem with a lot of overseas hams in places outside of Europe. Ham equipment is often severely taxed by customs and is difficult to get into the country. There are programs that try to put HF equipment into the hands of hams in DX countries, so you might look for one of those. What is your suggestion getting into CW? What is the best way to learn Morse code? Practice. You can, if you can hear it on the air, you can listen to it and try and decode it. When you get fairly good, you can try transmitting it and seeing if you can have some QSOs. What is the best way to learn Morse code? There's the K0P software that I found very, very good. It's free piece of software. that you can use that not only will send the Morse code a variety of ways to you, it will also start teaching you by adding letters slowly. And you can also practice it with on-the-air like conditions with noise and interference and things like that. That's a good way to do it. One of the best ways of doing it is get a learning buddy. And you could do it over the air on 2 meters, find some simplex channel and send each other code and hold the microphone up to the code oscillator and just practice that way. That's kind of what I did to get my speed up to 13 words per minute when I was going for my general. I had a buddy across town who was also a novice, and we'd get on the air at night around 9 o'clock every night and just send pages of QST to each other. And we both got up our speeds to about 18 words per minute, and so we passed our 13 word per minute code test without any issue at all. So that is a great way of doing it if you can find a practice buddy. Okay, 6 meters going today. Great. Give it a try. Actually, that microscopic section airspace on 10 meter for tech is 200 kilohertz, which is wider than the voice portion of 40 meters, so I wouldn't call it stingy. It's pretty good. Yeah, the 97 will get you going. FT8, yes, there's FT8 on 6 meters. Still working on 43-foot vertical. You're going to need to put in 1 million radials on that, and it will work better on the lower bands. Bob Dunn checking in. Hello, Bob. And Carl Franklin, thank you very much. Appreciate that. G4FON. Yeah, just look up G4FON. It uses the Koch method, which also incorporates the Farnsworth method. And what is the smallest butterfly terminated dipole that will work? I have no idea. I'm sorry. I don't know anything about that antenna. Maybe someone else on does too. Think about Morse code. We cheat on characters too. We use abbreviations, Q codes. Yes, it does. We do. There's a whole series of things that are called prosigns, which are single or double letters that are used to indicate some common things going on, like at the end of our transmission, we just put the single letter K, means over, and things like that. There's a whole world out there of that sort of stuff. Graded by general by attending a class given over 2 meters, sure. The 9700 for the reference station is a very expensive radio that covers only 3 bands. And I'm going to do, for the reference station, I'm going to cover 2 meters and 70 centimeters FM or digital. And the problem is there's 3 competing digital technologies out there. And although I have most experience with DMR, D-Star and C4FM are also very popular. So I may end up just saying, whatever's more in use in your area, use that. To get into the weak signal bands, I'm going to suggest that people go ahead and get their general, and then they can do that on HF and VHF. Yeah, I said G0F1, I meant G4FON. Okay. Yeah. This is from Stan English WB5IZO. Has anybody pointed you to the barnstormers.com website in your quest for an LSA? Yes. If not, you might try it. Yes. And I've looked at I should say I've drooled over all sorts of aircraft. An aircraft I'm looking at right now more is an investment than just a cheap antique aircraft. The antique aircrafts around 15 to 25K. And they are antique aircrafts. Some of them are 80 years old. This 2011 Cessna Skycatcher. And it's had a little damage once in its history, and so people have been reluctant to buy it. It's priced about right, and it is the only Cessna aircraft actually made specifically for the light sport category. And the criticisms that I've seen of that aircraft are really criticisms of the light sport aircraft category, and don't seem to pertain specifically to that craft. Because every time somebody, well, it's only got 500 pounds payload, and well, all the light sport aircraft are kind of that way. So anyway, we'll see. He has indicated that. This is from Dwight N7KBC. Has indicated he'd be happy to assist me in some suggestions for buying an aircraft. He's in Vernal, Utah, which is about 4 hours from us by car. This is from Joe Dolan. Hey Dave, I saw a video about a week ago. I'm most positive it was one of yours, but can't find it anymore. In the video, you made a dipole with electric fence isolators and coax, yes, and hung it in some trees to show how to tune it. Now, that was one of the very early videos. If we go to the screen and we go up here to D. Kassler, no, let's go to KE0. Oh, this crazy thing is, I'm going to have to do something with a different keyboard here. We go to KE0OG.net/ask-Dave. Now, a lot of you are familiar with this page, but if you scroll down, there's a list of previous Ask Dave videos. It's getting out of date. I'm getting a new assistant, by the way, at the end of May, so I'll get these things straightened out. Now, if we scroll all the way down to the bottom, let's see. Any questions? It was one of the very early videos. No, I don't think it was that far. I think I may have used it to show how to use an antenna tuner. How to use an antenna analyzer. It could have been that one. How to use a manual antenna tuner. Anyway, I set up, for demonstration, a 6-meter antenna, which I actually put up about a quarter wavelength above the ground. Well, that's 1.25 meters, so that's about 4 or 5 feet that I put it between two trees and showed how the height affects the antenna tuning. So take a look at some of these early issues. I did more than that. I've got now, I'm up into the 280s, and it was only 244 here, so we'll get that up to date. Live stream there. Okay. But yes, I did do that video. It was very interesting because a dipole is a dipole is a dipole. Regardless of what frequency it's for, the optimum height is a quarter wavelength off the ground. If you go higher than that, like you obviously would do the 6-meter dipole, you start getting lensing on the on the radiation pattern. Let's see. I'm slightly concerned about. Let's see. Benjamin Otto is concerned about trying to learn CW from competing schools of thought. Benjamin, for every ham who knows CW, there are 2 competing schools of thought. So that means 50,000 or so competing schools of thought. I mean, everybody has an opinion on it. And what I ventured to you was my opinion, okay? I know that method works. I know that the best method for building speed after you initially learn the code is to get on the air. If you look up an organization called SKCC, Straight Key Century Club, it's a group of people who sort of celebrate slow code using traditional hand keys. And they have frequencies they use where, like if you go on 40 meters, about 70-50, you can usually find slow code around there that you can talk to people, and they're using slow code too. So, and also between 7100 and 7125, you'll find some slow code in there. Can you explain the attraction to contesting? Sure, it's competition. Why do people race cars? Why do they race bicycles? Why do they race motorcycles? They race airplanes. It's just the competitive nature of people. And there's very little time on the QSO itself. And some people just really enjoy that. I like the DX contests, not because I'm a good contester, but because I can pick up some exotic stations while working them. DX contacts, DX QSOs, are almost always short, sort of like contest QSOs. The mother of all contests, of course, is field day, even though that's technically not a contest. It's an operating event. There are many people participating. It'll be different this year because a lot of places won't be able to gather together for that. But if you can, if your local regulations allow, you can have a traditional club type field day. We lost our site this year, the site we've been using for, 40 years. I don't know. So they're looking for a new site for us for field day, somebody's farm or something. Okay. This is from Travis Eby K3XQ. Searched high and low for an answer for this. Can I use my end-fed HD random wire with my VHF UH rig? Can you? Yes. Is it going to be effective? That's a different story. Network analyzer shown an SWR of under 1.5 to 1 across the entire VHF band. Yeah, it will do that. That just means that the signal gets to the antenna and doesn't come back, which could mean it's radiated, or it could mean it's just become heat. So you can try it. The best way to learn is to try it. You say you've got a reference Ed Fong antenna, which is a vertical, tri-band vertical, and some of his are. And so the thing to do is to find people in various locations around you that you've talked to before and have them compare the signals on your two antennas. You will find that the signal radiation patterns from a large antenna on a high frequency get weird. And so you'll have a lobe over here and a lobe over here and a null here and a null there. Whereas the horizontal antenna will give you pretty uniform coverage around what you're doing, although it will lobe because it's up at a high angle. I mean, the optimum height for a 2-meter antenna is 1 meter off the ground, 3 feet. Now, the problem is there's too many obstacles in the way, so people traditionally put them up high. And you get so many lobes that they kind of start blending into each other. Okay, Ham's beer. Boy, that is really dating yourself. From the land of the sky blue waters. How well I remember that. From Scotland, thank you. Saltire, that's the Scottish flag, is it not? ARRL broadcast code every evening at different speeds. True. Would like to know best about the antenna analyzer. Which one is the best? Do you like apples or do you like oranges? I think the MF J 256C is probably the best antenna analyzer to start with. I wouldn't go for a sophisticated rig expert just right out of the box, but you're going to be spending $200, $300 for it anyway. Find out what your friends are using. and try them. Try them. The MFJ is dead simple to use. And if you want to punch a couple extra buttons on it, we'll do some very sophisticated things. But out of the box for measuring SWR, it is dead simple. And I have one. I've had one for many years. I have been acquiring other antenna analyzers. I've got one from Germany, the FAVA5, which does graphing on the computer screen. I've got the Rig Expert up there. I've also got the little Nano VNA, and Tom is going to help me with that one. I've ordered some adapters for it, and they should be here like today or Monday, so we'll see what we can do. From Iraq, hello. Let's see, Nano VNA seems to be the hot ticket right now. They are, the problem is they don't really come set up as an SWR meter right out of the box. They're set up to do fairly sophisticated analysis of vector analysis of networks, which is great, but most people just want to know what the SWR is. There's a Rig Expert for 82, works off your computer, okay. Yeah, I mentioned the 256C. I have the 256B. Okay, let's see, we talked about Travis's there. Okay, let's go to Samuel Santiago, Kilo Papa 4, Kilo Bravo. I think that is Puerto Rico. People there have been talking about potential statehood for decades. There are people who want to stay as a quasi-independent outfit or actually become a state. It is U.S. territory, and the people there are U.S. citizens and can come and go freely. Hi, Dave. I have 2 HF radios, and I would like to know a safe way without overloading the front end of the other HF radio to transmit on one radio and monitor myself on the other radio. Yes, it's a very simple method. Put the second radio down and do not put any antenna on it at all. Okay? And then tune it to your transmit frequency, and you will be amazed how loud your signal will be in there. You might even connect that radio to a dummy load just to get the signal down to manageable proportions, but it's so close to the other one, it will pick up the signal very well. What is the best way to connect a wire antenna to a mast with an insulator? You can go down, if you've got a farm store like Murdoch's in your area, go down and get electric fence insulators. Those work well. You can just get a little piece of PVC pipe and drill holes in it to hold it. All kinds of things can make insulators. A little piece of wood will do the same thing. It's the best way to connect a wire, and let's see, the latest firmware, the Nano VA has a VisWire function in it. I'll have to look at that. Use my Nano VNA with my Kindle Fire, makes a great portable kit. Yeah, find out what your friends are using, then borrow it. That's true. Are kind of things clubs should buy. Our club does have one, which is a MF J 259 computer Commonwealth. It's amazing how much antenna analyzers have come down in price. Yeah, well, they've used these new chips, and these little Chinese have made very interesting little things. Okay, this one was sent to my Mount Snuffles Press address. For those who see Mount Snuffles Press, if you put a tip in the tip jar, you'll see that it goes to Mount Snuffles Press. That's my business entity. That's where I have my tax ID and my sales tax license and stuff like that under Mount Snuffles Press. There is some talk on Patreon that some states are going to require tax to be collected So we'll see how that works out. I don't know why they would do that, but they are what they are. All of the states are really struggling for revenue right now. Okay, this is from Richard Hooper, K4QJS. Thank you for the videos. Let's see, after watching episode 283 regarding the MF J Duplexer, it sparked my interest in using my home base dual band for two multi-band radios, a TYT9800 and an HT Anytone ATD878UV+. I'm not sure I would advise that. If you had a 2-meter radio, it's got 2-meter filters on the front end, and you've got a 70-centimeter radio, it's got filters on the front end. You can attach those to the duplexer and use a common dual-band antenna. But the problem with two dual-band rigs is you've got to... Eventually, you will transmit directly into the input of the other. And I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend a coax switch or just moving the coax between the two. Because all you have to do it is once. And it'll blow out the front end of the radio, and then what have you got? So... Oh, and let's mention something here connecting to the USB COM port. In Windows, it's important for radio work and things like that. Always use the same USB port. Like for this overhead camera, I've got a specific USB port I plug it into. If I plug it into another port, this OBS will never see it. So... plug things into the same port. It just works a lot better to do it that way. So that means it might be a good idea to mark them, mark the cable, which port it goes into. The wire you use for dipole antenna, can it have an outer coating? Yes, absolutely it can. You could even use magnet wire, but a lot of people just use insulated house wire. You can get a single... not the dual Romex stuff, but just single wires, insulated and stranded. Get the stranded stuff. It's a lot easier to deal with. You can get it down at Home Depot or Lowe's for not very much, well, $50 for a roll of 500 feet, something like that. Might be a little bit more. And you can make a bunch of antennas out of that. You'll be using that stuff for years. You can also use it for radials. And in fact, my... vertical antenna, I think, has about 1,000 feet worth of radials around it, and it makes it work really well. Minnesota will be first in line. For what it's worth, oh, that's what the Commonwealth thing is. Yes, that's Puerto Rico. Although, Louisiana, a couple states are technically commonwealths rather than states. It's the Commonwealth of Louisiana, I think it is. And they don't use English common law. They use the Napoleonic Code as their primary law there. There's some leftovers from when the French held sway in that area. It's just little footnotes in history, but want to build more. Okay, good. Yes, insulating on a wire will change its velocity factor slightly. So if you make your lengths a little bit long and trim, which you're going to do anyway, it'll take care of that. Device manager, yes. The software searches for ports, but I do not see a port getting created for it. Okay, well, you have to install the software first. For example, the 7300, before you connect it to the computer, you should install the software driver from the Icom webpage. And then when you connect it, it'll go ahead and install that. But I would use the same USB port every time, because when they install a driver, they install it for a particular USB port sometimes. Okay, use Romex and strip it down to the bare copper, and then stretch it as far as you can to set it. That'll turn it into hard-drawn copper. Okay, Virginia is also okay, a lot of them. Do you prefer 14-gauge stranded insulated wire? That's what I use. I don't like 12-gauge. I find it hard to work. I keep messing my fingers up with that stuff. Let's see, what dual band mobile transceiver do I currently recommend? You know, I don't have one at this point. I was going to come up with 4. One is just FM, and then one DMR, one C4 FM, and one D-Star. Commonwealth of Rhode Island and the Providence Plantations. There you go. Okay, very good. Kind of got off subject there a little bit. That's fun to do sometimes. Okay. Answered that one. All right, this is from Dave Mallon, W8PHN. Are you going to be updating the extra class videos? Yes, absolutely. And I keep forgetting to put that book on order. So I'm going to fold that over in here so that I come back to it, and I'll get that book on order. And as soon as it gets here, I get my assistant. She's worked for me before, Lauren Cook, and she will be working very hard on getting the extra class videos updated. This is from Danny, Australia. Might be Danny in Australia. Anyway, please help me just starting out in ham radio. I have a Yeasu Ft757 GX. Just had it repaired. That's a nice radio. It's an older radio, very simple radio. Now when I transmit, the meter needle on the radio goes down. It's a transistorized radio. I don't understand why it would go down. Power meter shows 0. Is that because my power supply is 15 to 17 amps only, or is there a fault with the radio? Well, I would recommend a 20 to 22, 25 amp power supply for that. But if you turn your power down a little bit, the 15 to 17 will probably do. I trust it's 13.8 volts DC, and it's a good stiff power supply, so it'll work with a transmitter. Make sure that the power out, there is a power out button on that. Make sure that's turned up enough. That you've got your microphone connected on that. That's about all I can suggest from a distance. When it was repaired, it should have been tested. I would talk to a friend and see what you can do with that, and take a look at it. Go through the instruction manual very carefully. This is from Nigel Lawrence, Golf 0 MEJ. I've just watched your video about the MF J Duplexer and would like to know the model number for the outdoor version. If you'll go to the MF J website and look up the Duplexer, you'll see a few versions of it. And one of them is the outdoor version. So just go up there and search on it, and you'll find the outdoor version. It's got a different suffix on it. Let's see. You want to make 2 J-poles, one for 2 meter and the other 70 centimeters. Have scrap 15 millimeter or half-inch copper pipe to make 2 J-poles. Only need 1 coax feed to dual band radio. I live in northwest England. Okay, well, you should be able to get the duplexer. I think it's really a diplexer. I don't know. I'd have to go look up the difference between those two again. But if you make two antennas, one for 70 centimeter, one for 2 meter, then run a coax from each of those down to the diplexer and then to your dual band radio. Okay. All right. Okay. This is from Dennis W8ITC, just a suggestion for those looking for stealthy antenna. Katie from HRO has a video about these antennas. They're only about that tall. Okay, so obviously it is a severe compromise antenna. It may get out very well, but it's going to be very narrow-banded. So I haven't seen it. I haven't played with it. If you're watching from HRO, send me one. I'll test it and compare it to my dipole, compare it to my vertical, and see what we get on that. This is from Sean, KD9LVK. Says, I've seen several hams using a P.O. box for their address on their FCC license. Is this a recommended practice or just a matter of preference? It's a matter of preference. It's where do you get your mail? We live out here in the boonies. We get our mail at the post office. So we have a box down in Ridgeway that we go check 3 or 4 times a week and get our mail. And so that's how I have my license listed in the FCC database. What goes in there is your mailing address. So you can put in any mailing address you want, as long as, and there's a requirement for this, mail sent to that address actually gets to you. Because that is the address to which they will send any notices. And if they send you a notice and you don't reply, you could lose your license. So make sure it's a real mailing address. Along that same line, if you move, change your address with the FCC. It doesn't cost any money. I think you can do that through the ARRL too. This is from Mark Witterstrom, WB5FAX. Did you ever get your MF J1788 loop antenna working on 40 meters? Yes, and I did a video about that. I still have it. By the way, MFJ, this is not an official announcement yet, but they're going to come out. They have a little tuner box you put in the shack, and the antenna's remote, and you can tune it from the little box. They're coming up with a new box that will tune it automatically. Okay, so I don't know if they're going to do it where the radio tells the MFJ what frequency it's on or what, but they're going to tune it automatically. That makes it so much easier to use, and a very viable solution for somebody who lives in an HOA where they can set the thing out on a balcony or something like that. I know somebody who took their MFJ antenna and disguised it as a bird feeder by putting it up and hanging a bird cage and taking some of that nylon flowers and stuff like that, putting it around it as a yard decoration. So, by the way, the MFJ loop 5 feet off the ground is not a bad working condition for that. I put mine up on the roof where it is right now. I'm going to take it down from there. It's too close to the Wi-Fi equipment. We are the Wi-Fi hub for the neighborhood for one of the ISPs, and so it gets too much noise from that. Now, this is from Doug K8QDP. Your grid dip solution is in your shack already. Check out MFJ part number MFJ66C. Okay, where'd MFJ go? MFJ. MFJ 66C. 66C dip coil set. Okay. Well, indeed. Okay. Well, thank you for pointing that out to me. I think I'm going to get that and play with it. Because one of the questions somebody had was whether the traps on the MFJ trap dipole were really traps or just some exotic loading. And I can answer that with a grid dip meter. What is the earliest you can renew your license in this year? The answer is 90 days prior to expiration you can renew. Is there a charge for vanity license? Not any longer, no. Andrew Shelton got tested today in Madison, Virginia, and is now an amateur extra. Andrew, congratulations to you. That is great. There's some paranoia among some hams about getting a P.O. box. Why? I've always found it to be more private than, people can't steal mail out of your mailbox if it's at a P.O. box. If mail does not get back, the FCC can revoke. Yes, they can. Did Josh come in here? If so, hello, Josh. It's one of the questions in either the tech or the general test. Oh, yes. They make entertaining videos. Love when you go over the features of the used gear. Yes. Hi, Hoshnazi. I didn't see him come in. If he's in, wonderful. Nice to see you. If mail is returned as undeliverable, yeah. Late check-in, happy handvention weekend. Yeah, I know. I wanted to be at Dayton today. Okay. This is from Bruce W1TIS. What are your plans to update the extra course to refer? Yes, I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be doing that very soon. That actually is all of the questions that I had. Let's see if there's anything else that needs to go in. It says Josh is in the house, but I haven't seen him. Josh, if you're there, say hi. Ham Radio Crash Course. There it is. Hello. Well, thank you, Josh. Josh has got a very popular YouTube channel and recently went over 100,000 subscribers. Thank you. I'm up to 68,000. I've noticed that now that the country is starting to open up, viewership of the pandemic specials are kind of down a little bit, so I may not be making a video every day, but I'm going to try and do a few a week, and I will continue both the Thursday and the Saturday live stream for a while. We're up to 178 concurrent viewers today. Super Chat was $30 and 37 likes. So we got a couple minutes. Let me just make sure I haven't missed some questions. Let's see. MLS. You can go to several free sites and take practice exams. Yes, hamstudy.org. There's some hamstudy site, it might be hamstudy.org, that does a lot of YouTube advertising, and I'm kind of wondering about that because those advertisements cost money. So I'm wondering how they're paying for that. W5KUB, give Riley my best. Hey, there's W5KUB. Riley Hollingsworth will be with us Tuesday night, and I will be there too. W5KUB Tom has a live stream every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Central. And you go to w5kub.com and you can pick it up there. If you wanted to watch it on YouTube, you can click through. But it's on W5KUB. He has a separate chat channel that you have to open up at the same time. It's usually pretty lively. But I'll be on that one. And it's nice of Hoshnazi to stop in too. Hoshnazi, tell me about when you do. I think you do your Friday night live stream, if I'm right. Riley will be with us. Okay, he's retired special counsel. He's the one that really straightened a lot of things out for a while. Some hams use a P.O. box. Yeah. And Hoshnazi says views are trending down on his end too. So I think the country is going back to work. Several QSOs with Hamvention QSO party this morning. Yeah, they are having a QSO party. Might want to try it. QRZ told that I must change it on the FCC site. Yes, that's how you do it. The FCC feeds regularly to QRZ. Well, I think QRZ goes in and gets the FCC database and keeps that up to date. Film videos about the MF J Duplexer at the same time. I mostly use mine as a bandpass filter to listen on 70. Yeah, okay, great. And there's the 40-meter net prior to the show. At 5:30 p.m. Central time and 7180 is Tom Medlin's K5 or W5KUB net. Okay, licensed for 43 years. Yeah, mine was set up to my home address. Josh is in Southern California. State governors like to think they're in control. Well, our whole state is rocks and cows, except for Denver. The biggest industry in the state is the petroleum industry, then agriculture, then tourism. And I was down in Ouray the other day, and oh, it looks so sad. This should be teeming with people this time of year. It's a tourist town, and there's hardly anybody there. And, you know, people are just really struggling. Let's see, I stream Saturdays now at 5 p.m. Pacific, talking sporadic E, okay. And Robert Harriman is going to take his extra test through the Alaska thing. San Jose. All right. We are done for the day. We're slightly over time. I appreciate everybody here. I appreciate those who support the channel financially through the Super Chat and the many other ways that they do. And thank you all, because I can use that cash flow to buy things for the channel, do things for the channel, improve the video equipment, and stuff like that. Thank you all for your support during the pandemic. People were so very supportive of my video every day during the pandemic. We're starting to edge out of it now, so I will edge down on the number of videos each week. But I am still working on my flying. I had a flying lesson yesterday. I got another one on Monday. We did power on and power off stalls. That was fun. And I've been looking at an airplane. All I got to do is figure out if that's the one I want. All right, so I'm going to say 73. Thank you all so very much. And we will see you on Thursday night. And there should be some videos in the meantime. The next video, as was suggested by Eric Mills, I'm going to do modulation methods, AM single sideband. So we'll talk to you all soon. 73 to everybody, and we will see you next time. Let's see what we got to do here.